Why is 7 the most important chapter?
It's when everybody gets sorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Any
most
of these people go into a different house, everything changes.
All
It
right, I
really
like
does.
that.
Yeah.
You're saying that a decision that a hat makes when you're 11 years old is the most important thing to happen in all of these people's lives.
Which is okay, so there's this line, obviously, like you know, we sort too early, all that kind of stuff. I know we're like just jumping right into it, but how do you think they should sort? Is the sorting hat like a good judge of what house you should be in?
They shouldn't sort until at least second year. At least.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe have like one house and then sort after that.
The first year's house, and then everything else after that is like that's when you actually get sorted.
Yeah, it's like freshman dorms at college.
Oh, we
You
don't.
get to know everybody that's in your same class. And
How would you guys sort though? That's the question. Like, would you guys just wait a year, or is there another way that you would do it? Is it like a, you know, like an aptitude test?
I think there needs to be observation and see how people interact with other people around them for the first year, at least the first year anyway, and then maybe divide classes and houses after that. Because, you know, for example, if Harry had gone to Slytherin, he could well have, you know, come out a completely different way, same way as if he was in Hufflepuff. So I feel like it's sort of decided for them before they get a chance to prove themselves.
Hold on, too, Kevin. I think we're getting feedback on yours because you don't have headphones. Every once in a while, it's popping up, and it's just so even just turn it a little lower.
All
or
good. Let me
use
mute
headphones.
myself for now, and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah. You just mute whenever you don't talk, and that works. Yeah, that's a interesting way to sort. Do you think that okay, so maybe another question. Do you think that any of the kids are sorted wrongly?
It was actually interesting because it says in a, I've never actually noticed it before, that Seamus, no? Yeah. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to pronounce it in like real Afrikaans, and I was like, Seamus? Seamus. Like it took a long time to sort him, and I never really noticed that. So did you, or like longer, not like the longest, but like a bit longer than, or Harry actually noticed it, that it took him a bit longer. So I wonder if they had sort of saw that, no, the whole thing was Seamus in book 5, where he doesn't believe Harry and sort of is not brave. I wonder if that's the thing.
That's
Yeah, I was
fascinating.
thinking about that too. Yeah.
Mm.
I think
I
he
don't
could
know, I think
be
it's-
in Hufflepuff or Slytherin.
Yeah, I wonder what other house, what other house do you think the sorting hat was considering for him?
I kind of don't want him in Slytherin, if I'm being honest, or I don't want him in Hufflepuff. I kind of want him in Slytherin. Throw him into
Yeah, he
Slytherin.
doesn't seem too loyal, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, he's loyal to Dean, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they're inseparable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
I
I
think
feel
that.
like people are almost shaped into their house's traits because they're in their houses. So, like, you know, I feel like Hermione would have done great in Ravenclaw. Ron would have done great in Hufflepuff. Harry could have done great in Slytherin, as the hat said. So I feel like by giving them these labels when they're that age, they sort of become those labels over time.
Yeah, and they sort of
To an
forget
extent.
about their other traits. Yeah, they sort of forget about their, or they don't like invest that much time in the other traits that they actually have as well. So they just like concentrate on that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like maybe the root of the problem is I feel like they don't get enough time to like mingle with the other houses. It's so like, oh, you have to, you know, most of your time is going to be in your common room, and you're going to be, you know, it seems like the time you're spending with other houses is, wow, that was
All right.
interesting. So maybe what needs to be in a modern setting, you should be able to allow other houses into your own dorm or something. I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't work, but
Mm.
I think there needs to be more mingling between houses, or else you end up getting these kinds of prejudices and all that.
It is kind of
Yeah,
weird
more
that you're
common room with like
Yeah.
darts and billiards.
Yeah, it's weird that other students aren't allowed in your common room. Like I understand like the dorms rule or something like that, but why like any other house isn't allowed in the Gryffindor common room seems a bit.
It's never explicitly said that they're not allowed, because we see people going into other common rooms every once in a while, like sneaking in.
Yeah, sneaking in. So
But you
that
wouldn't be
kind
able to
of
get past the portrait.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so if you have a buddy in another house, you can just be like, "Hey, come on over to the."
doesn't Luna take Carrie like in the last book into her common room?
Yeah, but that's like at a necessity though. That's not like
Yeah.
just normal
I think I
school
read
rules.
somewhere-
It's not an explicit rule. It's just they just don't.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I think I
mean,
read
even-
somewhere that like that like there hadn't been inner house mingling in the common rooms for like a century or something like that.
Mm.
I mean,
I'm
even
not
the
sure.
snatchers ask like them
Yeah.
where the Slytherin common room is, which if we are to believe that, then no one would know where the other common room is.
Yeah. That's a little wild to me too, that these kids don't know
That's
where the
so
other
ridiculous.
common rooms are. I'm like, I know the castle's big, but that's a bit of a stretch to be honest.
It's like one of the first things I'd be looking to find out while
Yeah.
speaking to somebody from another house. I'd be like, where's your common room? People in houses are still friends with people in other houses. So how are they just sitting there being like, oh, bye, like I'm off to bed, and not going, oh, by the way, like, where is your bedroom? Like,
Yeah.
where is the common room?
Yeah.
Surely, like,
Maybe-
that's what you'd ask.
Well,
Maybe
I
they thought that the Slytherins won't have friends in other houses and won't show them. Not that, like I say, it's true, but maybe the older guys that already left school thought, or that was their thinking, that other Slytherins won't invite, other houses to their common room.
Yeah, and I also understand Ravenclaw and Gryffindor not knowing where Slytherin and Hufflepuff house common rooms are, because they're so far away. But there's literally Ravenclaw Tower, so everybody knows where Ravenclaw's common room is.
And then everyone's got to know the Hufflepuff one because it's not by the kitchen. So I'm like, that's the first place I would figure out. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm on school
you know the
property. I'm like,
Hufflepuffs are
where's the
bragging about
kitchens? Yeah.
So, figure out where the
Then
kitchens
again-
are in like book 4.
I know. It doesn't happen for a while. I know. I think the first time.
It's like Hogwarts Legacy, then the portrait to get into the Hufflepuff common rooms just doesn't show unless you're a Hufflepuff.
That's bizarre.
I think that's the case in Hogwarts Legacy anyway. So, but still, you'd ask somebody.
I know.
The lack of curiosity in these students winds me up. Like, just ask the question. Where do you sleep every night before we hang out during the day? Like, what?
I think they're very overwhelmed in the beginning. It's just like, let's get through our classes first. Like, try not to
Yeah.
kill anyone.
True.
So,
There's a lot going
Yeah.
on.
Okay, I have this little headcanon that I think I've been rethinking this a little bit, but Hermione gets sorted into Gryffindor, obviously. And I was saying even on stream, I think a little while ago, that I think Hermione was actually given the option to join whatever house that she wanted to join. But do you think that she was actually able to join Slytherin? How many Muggle-born Slytherins have existed in the world? Does anybody know that? I know that we see that in the Deathly Hallows. They say like, oh, there's not a lot of M-word Slytherins out there or something like that. One of the Snatchers says that. I'm actually curious how many Muggle-born Slytherins there would be. I don't know if anybody can actually answer that question unless you like, Hogwarts of history.
I don't think there would be that many, because if you're Muggle born, you don't know the extent of power that you can reach. So how can you have an idea to aspire to that power?
Yeah. Oh, that Cecilia was just replaced by a dog right now. Anyway.
Sorry, I got distracted by the dog and I completely forgot.
Yeah. What were we talking about? All right. What other questions or what things did you guys see in these chapters? We're just in chapter 7 right now.
Oh,
So
the idea of sorry.
oh, go ahead.
The idea of Ron not knowing what the sorting ceremony was all about. Like, obviously, he heard what Fred and George said, but if you're starting Hogwarts, right? This is me just getting annoyed at all of these 11-year-olds for, like, you know, not acting like adults. But anyway, if you're 11 years old and you're starting a school and you're from a wizarding family, surely you want to figure out everything that's going on. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm the kind of person that goes onto a website and looks at, like, what to expect when you're here before I go anywhere. But, like, I would be asking every question, like, what happens? How do I get there? Who's going to speak to me? Who do I want to, like, get on with, like, teacher-wise? How do we get sorted into our houses?
There's got to be a Rate My
Like-
Professor of Hogwarts. Like, I'm sure Ron was on
Oh
Rate
my
My
God,
Professors
yeah.
looking up, like, what is Professor Flitwick like, you know?
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research before this stream. One of the theories is that the Sorting Hat has a Fidelius charm on it.
What?
I've heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's out there. That theory's out there.
Wait, can you explain that one? How would that work?
So the Sorting Hat, the Fidelius charm is essentially just keeps information from people. It's not necessarily for hiding a place or anything like that. It's for keeping information secret. And so the Sorting Hat has a Fidelius charm on it, and it's its own secret keeper.
That actually makes sense because there's something, the hat says there's nothing in your head that the Sorting Hat can't see. And I'm like, that's a severe invasion of privacy. And I'm like, I don't like that much, you know?
It's kind of the reason why they just until you actually go there and do it your first time, you just can't explain it to anybody that's underneath that age. It's out there. Jay and Ben Carlin do a good explanation of that Fidelius charm on it. So
yeah, and
out there.
the song every year is like, I've heard this theory too, and I actually subscribe to it. And so like the Sorting Hat's song is like sharing the secret, and so then the students are privy and know it. And that explains why like nobody knows before they get to school like how they're sorted, including like it's not in Hogwarts of History because Hermione didn't know.
That's fascinating. I've
She can
never
lie
thought
about
about that. Huh?
You can lie about it. I mean, Fred told him you got to wrestle a troll. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
so what's
and-
the extent of the secrecy? Like, because Malfoy was saying, "Oh, I would, kill myself if I was in Hufflepuff, right, or something like that." That was not what
I
he
think
said.
he said he'd leave, but similar.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Close enough.
Might as well.
So he knew of the houses, but he didn't know of the. Then maybe.
Hey, people know the house, they just don't know how to they get into their schools, and it's the Sorting Hat that's the secret.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone would know, Malfoy would know.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because his dad tells him everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I think if Harry was talking to him a bit longer, maybe he would have told him how to get sorted. But they were sort of interrupted, or like the conversation was not that long.
No,
I don't know.
It legitimately seems like nobody knows when they first go.
But I can see like it being a kind of fun thing to keep from the first years, so that they find out on the night.
Yeah, so your brothers can haze you.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Ron being on the train thinking that he's gonna have to go to Hogwarts and wrestle a troll.
I love Harry thinking
It's probably like flexing and exercising.
Yeah.
Garb.
Harry thinking he might need to pull a rabbit out
Rabbit.
of a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
that
like,
was
that's so good because that shows his like he's still in the Muggle mind and he's thinking, oh,
Hmm.
magic tricks like a rabbit out of a hat, where like that just doesn't happen at Hogwarts. But I really liked that line because it just shows his little Muggle mindset.
Yeah, in the magic world, I mean, that's some insane magic, to be honest, to be able to, have a
Conjure up a rabbit.
Yeah, conjure. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I also So Seamus takes a while to get sorted, which is interesting, but Neville also takes a while to get sorted. And is Neville potentially a Hufflepuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, Neville was
Yeah.
wanting to be a Hufflepuff, but the Sorting Hat put him into a Gryffindor.
He was actually
Like, Seamus
wanting to
only-
be a Hufflepuff? Where's that?
It's written in somewhere, I think.
That's kind of cool.
In the Sorting Hat article.
He marries a Hufflepuff, so I like that.
Then it would have taken his request, I guess, if you want to say that, into a play, like they did with Harry. I don't want to be in Slytherin. Okay.
I think it was like Neville was sort of intimidated by the Gryffindor's reputation, so he wanted to be a Hufflepuff. He didn't want to be put into Gryffindor, and but the hat sort of overrode this.
He didn't think he was good enough to be in Gryffindor.
Yeah.
Could you imagine poor Neville's shock when he thinks he's going to be in Hufflepuff? He spent his whole life thinking he's useless and like a coward, and then he gets put into Gryffindor. He's probably thinking this must be some sort of mistake. He must have had imposter syndrome massively for the first few years.
I think up until he killed Nagini.
Yeah.
He had imposter syndrome.
It is fascinating to think what his upbringing was like, because I'm sure that I'm sure that his uncle, all these people were telling him and like saying, you're not going to be that useful unless you're in Gryffindor. Because they probably, huge, ardent love and support of Frank and Alice, who I'm assuming are Gryffindors.
Yep.
Okay, so they're Gryffindors. So I'm sure that there's like this family tradition, especially because he's one of the Sacred 28, right? Is he one of the Sacred 28?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. I'm nailing it right now. And then I'm sure there's all sorts of like lore and like pressure on him to be in Gryffindor. So that's actually shocking that he would want to be in Hufflepuff. I know that he's like nervous and terrified all the time, but I'm surprised. I wonder what the cause of that is. If he just doesn't think he's worthy, or maybe he just is like, he doesn't have shame of his parents, but it's an interesting idea of like why he's.
I think he just knew he'd be accepted in Hufflepuff.
I like that.
Am I worried he wouldn't live up to the expectation of his parents?
Yeah.
Oh, that breaks my heart. You do, Neville. You do. I know.
Yeah. I mean, Neville and Hermione took closer to, less than 5 minutes, but still closer to 5 minutes to be sorted.
Man, that must be so intimidating, sitting on that chair or sitting in that stool for 5 minutes with this hat on your head, waiting to be sorted into your house.
And again, like Harry said. Yeah. What Harry said when he's like, what happens if I don't get sorted and it just doesn't decide, and all the like his internal monologue, and like, oh, my heart breaks for him, because like that is so the kind of mindset. Again, he's got the imposter syndrome as well, probably, and he's just thinking, what happens if I don't get sorted into any and I just go home? And I'm like, the poor baby, like he's only 11, bless him.
It's still up until this point he thinks that this is all an elaborate trick that the Dursleys are playing on.
Which, to be honest, I feel like they could do that. The Dursleys would 100% spend all this money to torture Harry like that.
It just breaks my heart. Like,
to be fair, so there's a dialogue that Kowalski says in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where he says, "It cannot be a dream because I cannot see myself imagining all of this." I think it's the same with Dursleys. I don't think they are creative enough to put on this elaborate plan.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well, he says he's like, but they don't. But then he remembered that they don't have a sense of humor. So,
that's the thing. He's like, everything else makes sense, but they just don't have a sense of humor. So that's the only reason that they wouldn't do it. That's so good.
I love the line when he says, he doesn't feel particularly brave or anything, but he, if there isn't a house for people who feel squeezy, that's quite nice. All the first years can be in that house before the sorting out sorts them into. That's very cute.
Also, the sorting ceremony happens on the same day that they've had their extremely long journey they've had a really long train journey.
Yeah.
They're overwhelmed by this entirely new environment, and then they're put on stage in front of an entire school to be decided where they're going to be for the next 6 years. How intimidating is that? Like, even for an adult, but to be
Yeah,
a
because they were
child.
I
standing
think
in the lines facing everyone. I always like, because I imagined it now like in the movies where they stand like in the passage in the middle, but in the book it says like they're standing in a line facing everyone. That's so stressful.
I've always
yeah.
seen it like the sorting part of the like authenticity of the sorting is that you like are showing up and everything is new, and how you react and respond to newness. That's part of like what drives you in your life and your personality, and that's show up in your
Yeah, I think it's better for the sorting because your defenses are down. You're just so overwhelmed with everything going on.
You're exhausted. You're hungry. You have no idea what's going on. You think you have to wrestle a troll. No, Sorting Hat's like perfect, great opportunity.
I mean, yeah. You are full of adrenaline, so your basic responses trigger, and that maybe affects the sorting.
Yeah, you are at your base level what you are as a person.
You're never more like Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, or Gryffindor than then.
It's a great point.
So here's an interesting question. If, say, you had honed your ability to do occlumency even before the age of 11, could you employ occlumency against the Sorting Hat?
Yes.
Dang.
That was a very confident yes.
Because it's said that Sorting Hat is a very skilled legilimens. That's how he does his things. And so if you are honed in occlumency, you can probably fool the Sorting Hat.
So the ability to put legitimacy into an object has a lot of wild repercussions
the founders
to
were
it.
very powerful. I don't know what.
That's why they founded a school.
Yeah, that's true.
You've mastered occlumency by the age of 11. You deserve to be put in whatever house you want.
Yeah, exactly.
You become a teacher.
11-year-old that knows occlumency, like, the hat would be like, do you know what? You pick me. Like, I don't care.
Make a new house.
That student is the new Sorting Hat.
Do you want a room by yourself?
Office?
Just
yeah.
What do y'all think about, like, do you think, I've always thought in my head that, like, it's possible that Dumbledore is, like using legitimacy to see the conversations and what's happening between the Sorting Hat and the students as a way to, like, know his students. You know, like, as he's talking with Harry at the end of Chamber of Secrets, Harry mentions, like, they're like talking and Harry's like, well, maybe the Sorting Hat should have put me in Slytherin. And then Dumbledore says, but think, like, why didn't it? And Harry's like, because I chose it. So either like Dumbledore is like asked the Sorting Hat, like, what happened in there with Harry, or like what happens with all the students, or I've always thought he's just skilled enough and like he is the headmaster of a school, and like, you know, I'm a teacher, so like at the beginning of the school year, it's always like getting to know your students, what like engages them, what motivates them, what makes them tick, what frustrates them. And so this is his like magical way of doing that, is like he's just like, okay, got it. I got a grasp of like this incoming cohort of first years.
I have to go.
So like does he question
the Sorting Hat is kept in his office anyways. I think he just pulls an all-nighter with the Sorting Hat and just talks with it.
Let me hear your song. What do you think about for next year's song there?
Yeah, right. They just have a slumber party all night.
Briefly. So how do you go?
I'm always confused now. I think it's because like reading the books and then like also like different podcasts I'm listening and the movies and all that stuff. Now I'm confused, and maybe you can help me. Like, if you do occlumency or legitimacy, do you have to perform a spell to do it, or do you just do it all the time?
I think it depends on how skilled you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Starting out, I think you have to do a spell.
How I guess it's just this will gauge everyone's level of love for Dumbledore, but how often or how much would Dumbledore invade students like that minds? Like, first of all, would he care? And does he have like a boundary where he would respect the privacy of students? Which maybe sounds like a bit laughable right now, but like, is Dumbledore sitting up on his chair being like, I'm not going to invade Harry's mind right now because, I don't have a right to.
He's up there, he's like, all right, look at everyone. All right.
No, I think he knows everything, but he'd keep it all secret. He wouldn't reveal the information.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's for the greater good. Like, he knows that this is the chosen one. He's like, I need to see this conversation. This is really important for like how like everything plays out eventually. Like where he gets pretty important.
Because that's important. That's interesting too. Because in the movies, Richard Harris like leans forward whenever Harry is about to get sorted. Does that happen in the books too? I didn't see that line, but does Dumbledore pay extra attention in the books?
I think everybody paid extra attention.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Potter.
Yeah.
That's all said.
Do you think that at this point Dumbledore isn't sure what house he's going to be sorted into, right? He thinks that there's a potential that Harry might get sorted into Slytherin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did Harry? What is the confirmed canon on why Harry was supposed to be in Slytherin or could have been in Slytherin? Is it because of the Horcrux inside him, or is it because of something else inside Harry? Like, is he just an ambitious person, so he should have been sorted into Slytherin?
He's not ambitious at all. No, it's definitely the Horcrux.
Okay.
I don't know how confirmed in canon that is, but it's
I also think though, like the Hat said, like he would have done well in Slytherin. Had he have been sorted into Slytherin and he hadn't met the people around him, I think he would have made a good Slytherin. Because I feel like he maybe at that moment he didn't have that sort of ambition and courage. Like I'm not courage, I'm getting them mixed up. A lot of synonyms mixed together, but he didn't have that ambition at that moment. But I feel like he so easily could have, and I think with the Hat saying you would have done well in Griffin or Slytherin, I think that
because he's got he wants to prove himself.
Yeah.
So again, how
that's
much?
What it says. There's a plenty of courtesy, not a bad mind either. There's talent and goodness, yes, and a nice thirst to prove yourself. Now that's interesting. That's all it says about it.
So is there anything, like, maybe this is a wild theory, but in any of these videos where it talks about Dumbledore's master plan, is there any idea where Dumbledore might have cast a Confundus charm on the hat to trick it into placing Harry into Gryffindor so that Harry doesn't become jilted?
No, because Harry asked.
So he is he casting a Confundus charm on Harry? No. I mean, Harry doesn't want to be in Slytherin because of like the things that happen right now in his future. But was the clear decision for the hat to place Harry in Slytherin, and the hat was just confused? So Harry asked, and the hat's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, go ahead in Gryffindor," when really he belonged in Slytherin.
That's not how that conversation goes. And also, Harry didn't want to be in Slytherin because Malfoy was such a jerk.
Yeah, for sure. So that's why I'm saying.
And he's like, I don't want to be partnered up with him.
But he had the courage to say that he wanted to not be in Slytherin, so maybe that courage as well.
Yeah, and he saw Fred and George over in Gryffindor, and it was like, that would be cool. But I'll take Hufflepuff.
He just said not Slytherin. And then
I'm over explaining like the thought process. It was just like he saw jerks go into Slytherin, and then he was just like, just not Slytherin. I've heard it's bad. Hagrid even tells him like, not a bad wizard hasn't come from Slytherin,
And his parents' murderer came from Slytherin.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's probably a good enough reason why he doesn't want to be in Slytherin. So eliminate that theory. What else did you guys see in this chapter? Any other interesting tidbits?
Oh yes,
Peeves.
Yeah. So Peeves. You get the introduction to Peeves and who he is and stuff like that. It's definitely there. And of course he's just hilariously funny, but
again,
never in the movies, but throughout the books, always there. So.
What is Peeves? Poltergeist. I remember looking that up as a kid, being like, I still don't understand what the heck this is. And I still, as like a 32-year-old, I'm like, I still didn't understand it until like a few months ago.
I find it funny that it says in there, none of the ghosts ever asked the Bloody Baron why he's covered in the blood. Like, his name is Bloody Baron. He's got silver blood all over him. And Nicholas Nearly hit his neck's like, I don't know. I never asked him. Like, it's not like I just met him 2 days ago. It's like hundreds of years I've been with this dude floating around. Once it's come up, interesting.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't ask either.
I mean, yeah. And given his history, better not.
Yeah, are we cool? All right, I'm just gonna stay over here. You stay over there. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Why haven't you asked me? I think he's gonna cut my head off if I ask him that.
Yeah, that's why the only two ghosts that we see talking are the Fat Friar and Headless Nick.
Yeah, there was so many fan theories about why the Bloody Baron was covered in blood. Like, that was like a whole.
Yeah.
I remember like that was like a whole conversation, and like the theories were so wild about that. And but like one of those things that like the fans called it, like they knew that it would like loop back around to like getting answered, which was kind of really and deathly.
That was a really satisfying answer. I really love to see that, because I was like, oh, the Bloody Baron, it's so strange. Like, it's just in your mind, but it's such in the back of your mind for this. And then all of a sudden when it came up, you're like, dang, it was so satisfying. I love that one.
I'm plenty more.
Huh?
Related to Peeves, I like the line where the friar was saying, "Oh, give Peeves a second chance," whatever. But I mean, there's no way it could be a second chance at that point. So I feel like the friar is so forgiving that every time, like, every year or every half year, he's like, "Yeah, just give him a second chance." He's like the only one that's keeping Peeves in the building.
That's
I mean,
thing. I gotcha.
Yeah, I was reading up on Peeves, and it says that in somewhere in 1870s, there was an attempt to sort of get Peeves out of Hogwarts.
Wow.
But that backfired, and Hogwarts had to be evacuated for 3 days until the then headmaster, one of those, had to sort of make a treaty with Peeves.
No way. Peeves is more
Yes.
dangerous than a basilisk. They don't evacuate the school for a basilisk. They do it for Peeves. I love that.
That's amazing.
That is so cool. And none of the ghosts can leave the Hogwarts grounds, right? They can't go into Hogsmeade like
I don't know about that because of Nearly Headless Nick's death day party.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
Yeah.
Also, Myrtle goes like hangs out in the lake.
The lake, yeah.
But that's still on the
I
ground.
suppose that's still on the grounds, but I don't know.
So can you travel to like magical residence or something like that?
Because Nick wanted to go on the Headless Hunt, which I'm assuming isn't all on the grounds of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the real reason he couldn't go. They're
Yeah.
just like, mate, you're simply not allowed to leave the grounds. And he's like, oh, it's prejudice. I think it's because I've still got my head on. And they're like, no. It's
Yeah,
just
but if they can
logistics.
go there, then why couldn't he leave?
I feel like ghosts and poltergeists are bound by different rules. I think poltergeists are more like I like the explanation that you found, John, about like it's the collective environment of the school. I think that binds Peeves to the school, whereas ghosts, they can kind of go wherever they want.
Because they're in the movie, at least they're singing carols in Hogsmeade. I remember that when he's invisible.
And also, why wouldn't you want to be at the school? Interesting people every year, new people coming in to talk to, and figure out like what's going on.
So, has there been
You could
any?
say that about anyone.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
why if you ever go to like I don't know the Mall of America, why would you ever leave? New people every day. There's always something going on.
Mall of America is awful, though.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I
but
went
you
Mall of
can
America.
build like within a school, you can build actual like relationships and stuff.
Yeah, that has
Because
to
they're there
be
for
tough.
7 years.
Has there been any anything written on how ghosts are actually formed or created? I know they talk about that at the end of book 5 a little bit, but like, what's the process between life and death where they're deciding they want to come back as a ghost? What does that look like?
Do you decide before you die, or is it like just after you die?
I think
Is
they
it
just
like
choose
you
not
get
to
an
go.
organ donor card, but instead it's like a resurrect as a ghost card? Or like, do you have to put it on your will? Or like, is it
it's
an
on your
afterlife
ID as a
type
wizard.
thing? Yeah. Or does it get decided for you if they decide that you're not? I say they, like the, I don't know, afterlife world. If they decide that your business isn't finished, and but then
Can
yeah, I don't
ghosts
know.
ever move on? That's a big question.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, they can they? Doesn't Nearly Headless Nick say that to Harry in book 5? That like it's a choice you make when you die, and then that's it. And he kind of regrets the choice that he made. He'll never know what the afterlife is like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think you're stuck once you're a ghost.
Yep. I always read it like that too. Like you're stuck. You just are a ghost that you can't like, want to pass on. You just have like one decision.
I feel like if you could just temporarily be a ghost, then I feel like Dumbledore would have been a ghost. I feel like Sirius would have been a ghost. Just so that they
I
could
just said it
finish the
and
thing
then
and move on. But,
I don't think Sirius would have been a ghost because he fell through that archway. I don't think he had the option.
No, I mean, I
That's
think
a
if you're
straight
a
road
ghost
to-
permanently, he wouldn't have done it anyway. But
Yeah.
It's interesting too that even in that book, everyone is convinced that Sirius would have moved on, and Harry's kind of convinced that he would have become a ghost.
I mean, Harry wanted him to become a ghost, not that
Yeah,
he
that's true.
was convinced he would become a ghost.
Yeah. Man, that would have been a wild twist to the book where Sirius comes back as a ghost. There's another thing.
I don't think he valued life enough.
Yeah, I know. There's another thing in this chapter where at the end of this chapter, Harry has a dream.
Yeah.
And was that dream just a normal boring dream? Because it was, what was it that the back of he was having a conversation with Quirrell, and it kept telling him transfer to Slytherin at once. It was his destiny. Harry told the turban he didn't want to be in Slytherin. It got heavier and heavier. He tried to pull it off, but it tightened painfully, and there was Malfoy laughing at him as he struggled with it. Then Malfoy turned into a hook-nosed teacher, Snape, whose laugh was high and cold. There was a burst of green light, and Harry awoke, sweating and shaking.
I think that was just the first signs of the connection.
Yeah. I think the second half is most definitely a dream. The first half can be interpreted.
I feel like it's a normal dream, but I mean, when you're Harry Potter and you have a Horcrux in your forehead, I mean, like, I don't think any dream is a normal dream.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And this is
I
his first
hate the
time
line when it's like, oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, this is the first time he's now technically seen Voldemort, or Voldemort's seen him because of the whole back of the head. Up until this point, he hasn't had that, so that might be that connection now with Voldemort being there, like, ooh, there you are. Now you're my target, so.
I think it's just rich with like figurative meaning. Like the the turban, like heavier and heavier, right? He tries to like pull it off, but it tightens painfully. I mean, this like shows how hard his struggle is going to be with being, Harry Potter. Like having this chosen destiny.
Yeah.
I mean, Malfoy laughing at him as he struggles with it, like that all is the course that is followed.
Yeah. It's the
I don't think it's just...
Yeah.
I just hate the line afterwards when it's like, and then he woke up and didn't remember a thing. I'm like, it's so frustrating that he doesn't remember it. It's such like a trope in sort of movies. He woke up and it was all a dream, or he woke up and didn't remember anything. And I'm like, oh my god,
it's so true though. I can have the most vivid dream about something, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, wow, that's a crazy dream. I'll definitely remember that in the morning, and then I'll fall asleep and I don't even think about it twice. I didn't like completely leaves my brain.
I know.
Now,
And
at
then
this,
it'll randomly come like during the day.
yeah,
You'll
exactly.
see something and you'll be like, I swear there was a lamppost in my dream.
But Harry has a couple of these dreams during the series, like these, like you can
Yeah.
interpret them a bit, like, you know.
Mm.
Do you think he's a seer?
Ooh, that's a good question.
While he's asleep?
Definitely not a seer. Gets a D
No.
in divination.
Yeah. I think if he took it seriously, maybe.
But
Well, since
seeing
Lane,
like him, like oh sorry.
go ahead.
Like
Go ahead.
like prophecy finds him and Voldemort often. So like, he's like the subject of prophecy, and or like book Professor Trelawney gives him a prediction. So like for whatever frequency, I mean, and it'll be fascinating to dive into like divination more when we get there, but like it does seem that I don't know, he's like prone to picking up those frequencies or like being like intercepting them.
The only thing he sort of knows is about Voldemort and no one else. So that's can be from his connections with Voldemort and nothing else.
And at this point, Voldemort wants to. What is the motive of how Voldemort looks at Harry at this moment? Because there's this idea even at the end where he's like, "Join me," and even this dream, it's him. It's Professor Quirrell's turban, which kept talking to him, telling him he must transfer to Slytherin. Is Voldemort looking to partner with Harry at this moment? That doesn't seem like something Voldemort would do. Is this a lie? Like, why transfer into Slytherin?
Because Voldemort sees Harry as extremely powerful because Harry was a baby and he got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Voldemort is thinking, if this baby could destroy me, let's team up and let's really conquer the world.
Yeah, actually, Snape references that perspective in the Half-Blood Prince when he's talking to Bella and Narcissa. They're questioning, well, Bellatrix is questioning, his loyalties, right? And is asking why he hasn't killed Harry Potter yet when he's had so much access to him. And Snape says that, at least at the beginning, his reasoning was that many people were actually wondering whether Harry might be a dark wizard himself, a powerful dark wizard himself.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem like in Voldemort's nature to partner with someone. Even if that person's more powerful, I feel like he would want to destroy that person. Like he tries to destroy Harry early on. So that's a strange one for me.
No, I think he'd partner with somebody if he could still be the main guy and that person was 100% on par with what he wanted.
So I don't know if that's a partnership. All right, you come
Yeah.
100% to me. I won't move any way your way, and then that's it. Go ahead,
I think
Becky.
he
Sorry.
wanted to tempt Harry, and then as soon as Harry gives in, he's going to kill him.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of keeping your enemies close, kind of thing. And then, when the moment strikes, and he can kind of take advantage. And then, because I think if Harry trusts him, it's kind of easier to manipulate. Do what he
Why
needs
did he
to.
try and kill him as a baby and not like groom him to be one of his Death Eaters?
Because
He can also, he can also try and get to know Harry, because like the way Harry's going to respond to this will sort of form how Voldemort reacts to Harry in the future. So maybe it was sort of to get to know him, because he also doesn't know like what kind of person Harry is, or like, you know, if he's actually like a good wizard or something like that. So, you know, might be something like that.
But he kind of ruined any chance of, you know, having him on his side when he tried to kill him and then killed his parents. I
Well,
just feel
he
like if he
didn't.
wanted to be siding with his enemies, he
But
ruined
Well, I
his
mean,
that's like
think
Voldemort
about it this
doesn't
way.
see it like that. Like, I
He's going
mean,
to kill
I
a
took away your
baby.
family, but I can offer you power. So, and power is the most important thing. So, how will you respond to this?
Also, he was going to kill a baby. How hard could that be? And then it was his downfall.
Yeah, I think he tried to kill Harry, and when he couldn't, he had sort of 10 years to think about it. And then, as Kevin said, he tried to get Harry closer to him. Sort of, if Harry's in Slytherin, then he'll get to know more about him and like discern how powerful is Harry before striking again.
Did you see the thing?
But then why don't we see everyone get close to him throughout the course of book 1? Because he's in class with him all the time.
True.
Like he could use that.
I think he's desperate to get he's focused on the stone. Like he's laser focused on the stone at that time because he wants to have his own body back and power.
Yeah. He freaking broke into Gringotts. That's insane. I mean, like, they say like later that even in the chapters we're coming up to in Deathly Hallows that, you know, it wasn't that crazy because it wasn't given it was empty, so it wasn't given a lot of the protections. But him being laser focused on the stone makes sense. But that's an impressive accomplishment that you're able to break into Gringotts like that. I wonder how he was able to do that.
Yeah, I'm curious about what kind of protections there were, because it seems like when they were trying to get into Bellatrix's vault, there were like numerous protections in place for her vault, but it didn't only seem like the door was the only kind of obstacle.
Yeah.
So it seemed like there was pretty low protection actually. I don't know if it's, you know, just Harry, he was just so in awe of everything that was going around, he just kind of didn't notice, or yeah, or maybe, I mean, yes, that seemed a little strange to me.
I mean, Gringotts has multiple levels of protection, so it might be that 713 didn't have that much protection compared to Bella's vault. Also, Bella belongs to the Black family and the Lestrange, both of which are like very old, pure blood families. So I guess she and her vault would have more protection compared to the others.
And honestly, where the stone was kept, probably the best protected, because if you try to get in without a goblin, then you just get sucked in, and then they check in 10 years if anybody was in there.
Yeah.
He had some inside information. Like, was he one of the professors in charge of protecting the stone?
Mm-hmm.
Because if he was,
Yeah.
maybe he just had some
Quirrell?
inside
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
So it might have
He
just
brought
been
the troll.
Mm-hmm.
easier for him.
Right. Yeah.
Quirrell,
So the
Quirrell
question is
challenges the
why.
troll.
But I think the main question is, yeah, why did he go to Gringotts and then, you know, not steal anything? And, I suppose maybe he did one of those like Dumbledore, like, you know, ancient magic swipes over the door and was like, nah, I can't get into this. Let's scram.
Yeah. I imagine him doing like Indiana Jones too, like weighing the sand and all of a sudden putting something back on this little object right before he takes the stone, you know? Although he doesn't get the stone, but in my head, that's how it looked.
I also don't think that all those protections were set up until later in the year.
Yeah.
Because Dumbledore wanted to.
I
honestly think that whole thing is just for Harry. I think Super Carlin Brothers were right about that.
Yeah. And Dumbledore knew that the stone was somehow going to be, well, someone was going to steal it. That's why he sent Hagrid to get it back.
You could, yeah, but since it was trapped in the mirror, there's no way to get it. Like, it's safe, regardless. You could put that in the middle of the Great Hall, and it's fine. Like, it's not. The mirror is enough.
I feel like maybe I have an optimistic view sometimes of people, but I feel like there's maybe more than just Harry as far as students who would, like, I don't see Neville necessarily wanting to use the stone for his own gain or advantage. Like, I see Neville just like seeing a stone and being like, oh, cool. I wonder if Neville looked in if he would get it.
Fred and George just want it would want it just to say that they could get it. That's
Yeah.
and then they'd put it back.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. But like as far as safe from Voldemort, doesn't matter where the.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Stone's protected.
What else do you guys have in chapter 7? Anything else jump out to you?
Yeah.
One of the.
Go ahead.
You can go. Yeah, one of the students that got sorted is McDougal Morak. I want to know about him. Like, what is the story? Because we never hear about him ever again.
Yeah.
We do hear about Lavender Brown right there, and the twins catcalling her, which I didn't notice that before. But yeah, so she must be pretty. So
there were definitely a couple of names that were brought up that never ever got brought up again, like Sally Ann Perks. That's such a random name. That sounds like such a Hufflepuff name. I would be honest. Sally Ann.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Google Bragg like stood out. I'm like, that's such a weird name.
The first two people that are sorted are Hufflepuff. I just want to point that out there. So that's good.
Let's just go in alphabetical.
And then of course, great uncle Algie.
Yeah.
Or Alva. How do you pronounce it? Becky, how do you pronounce it?
How pronounce which? I don't know how to spell
Neville's.
it.
Neville's
Algie. Is it Algie?
ALGAI. Algae.
Yeah.
John.
Is it Algae?
Yeah, we'll just say it's Algie.
Algae, yeah.
Yeah, it's Algae.
So you're what a gem.
Let's just throw Neville out a window.
Yeah,
this
is wild stuff.
Like in the water. Let's see if you can swim.
So in my version, which is the same one that John has behind him, it does not have Dean Thomas's name in it. But when you listen to the audiobook, it does mention it, and then it jumps into from Dean Thomas to Lisa Turbin, but the book does not mention Dean Thomas's name.
Yeah, the older versions don't have it, but then when the American version was printed, it included it. That's why also Fry's recordings don't have Dean Thomas's name.
That's crazy.
Good. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
How did she miss that? Did she just forget about Dean and was like, oh crap, I gotta throw Dean in the sorting ceremony?
I mean, it does make sense. Like she mentions, she doesn't, or the sorting of not every student is mentioned, or it's like some of the names are just mentioned. So it doesn't mean that Dean is not there. So I don't know why the American version has Dean sorting in there.
Yeah.
And also a description of him, where the other versions doesn't have it. So
because Dean is mentioned again in the book, right? I would presume.
Yeah, because he is in the book, and he isn't in the room.
In the first book, even, okay.
Because he does the drawing of Harry, Potter for president.
Yeah, wasn't it Dean putting up soccer posters?
Soccer.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And Ron was annoyed because it was West Ham, and he was like, "It's so boring. Soccer's such a boring sport."
Yeah,
and the
picture doesn't move.
Yeah.
I got one more thing. Since Lana Banana's on here, she said not to sing the song. The Hogwarts song.
That's how we're gonna end.
Huh?
That's how we're gonna end. Everyone sings it together.
I love it. What would it be a rewrite then that somebody would want to do? I mean, I like the song. I like the version the twins do, but what would be a rewrite then to it?
Because you have to do it in any tone you want, or tune you want.
But would you have different words you would choose, or something different?
That's pretty solid.
Hogwarts.
I love it.
Well,
this
Hogwarts, Hogwarts, Hoggy, Hoggy, Warty, Hogwarts, or something like that.
Yeah,
cringe.
It's quirky. It's quirky like Hogwarts itself.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Because our brains are rotten.
I think they do it again when in Goblet of Fire. I want to say they sing it when the
schools arrive.
The other schools arrive, and I think it's a cut scene from one of the movies, and Like you can see all of them looking at him like this really sucks. You guys suck at this.
It's
You guys would be
the
better at this, right?
cringiest scene ever. And like the actors, you can tell, like, I honestly don't think they're acting. Like they're singing along, but they look embarrassed on their faces. And I don't think that any of them are that good actors to be able to portray that embarrassment. Like when they're singing it, you could tell the actors are just thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Like they've just come in and done their circus performance entry. Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
and you're
they're
gonna
put
follow
this
that
on
up with
their
a
thing.
school song. That's cringe.
It's so bad. Huggy,
Are they gonna put this on their?
I'm gonna sit and
They're gonna
defend
put
it
this
for a
on their
half
tape
second.
that they send out for auditions.
One of the reasons I love it so much is because it's so dreadfully embarrassing that you have to like have pride in your school in order to even want to sing that. So I love Fred and George so much for singing this slow and Dumbledore conducting them after every single line, because those are two guys who are confident. And I could imagine they did the same thing when all the other students came. They're probably singing it, belting it out at the top of their lungs, super proud of the school. There's like something I feel like that's quite kind of quaint. Maybe it's such an embarrassing song because you have to have a ton of pride in your school in order to even want to sing that. But what like primary school or like middle schooler is going to ever want to sing that song? None of them are. It's like ridiculous.
You got Dumbledore who's just gonna sit there and go, good
yeah.
job, boys. Good job.
yeah.
Yeah, and him being emotional about it. Oh.
I love it.
Something even on another note, something that with the Neville thing that kind of made me think in this chapter is I wonder how prevalent squib fear or even obscurial fear is. So Neville gets thrown out of a window, which is a rash thing to do. I'm curious if for Neville's family, they would almost rather him die than not display some kind of magic, which is terrible. Like his uncle Algie is like absolutely awful. But I'm curious about that. And even as far as an obscurial is concerned too, like, are they terrified of that?
Most people don't know about obscurial because they're very rare.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's more about being a squib. Because,
Yeah, Neville's family is terrible. Nobody talks about the abuse that he's gone through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like...
Even McGonagall sort of tells off Augusta Longbottom.
Yeah, which I love. That's one of my favorite parts. Oh, I love that so much. It is just so tragic to me that this kid literally gets thrown out of a window. And he could have died. The kid, he was like, what? How old was he when he got thrown out of the window? Did it say?
It was like 8 or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, hold on. How high was the window?
Yeah, that's like this is like some Bran Stark thing right here. Neville's gonna come to school in like a wheelchair the first day because he can't move. He's like Bran Stark, and then all of a sudden he's got to deal with that for the rest of his life.
I'm just trying to skim through the book. Did he say that he was thrown off Blackpool Tower, or was that my imagination? Or
that would be crazy.
Yeah,
he was thrown out the Empire State Building. Yeah.
No, it says, but nothing happened until I was 8. Great Uncle Algie came around for dinner, and he was hanging me out of an upstairs window by the ankles. When my great auntie Enid offered him a meringue, and he accidentally let go.
See, it was an accident.
He pushed me off the end of Blackpool Pier.
Hanging a child.
This is like some Michael
out of
Jackson
a window
stuff
by
here.
the ankle, being like, "Do magic, do magic."
I'm gonna say for a meringue, I would also drop him.
And you're more concerned about getting some meringue.
How good is the person making the meringue?
Overall, I really like Gran though, so I like to think that she was probably scolding Uncle Algie after every one of these incidents.
Yeah, it's only Great Uncle Algie who's sort of.
Yeah, it's on him.
I don't
it's
know.
Definitely on him.
Neville seems to be in fear of Gran, so I'm not.
It's because his Gran is way too sort of proud in her son and daughter-in-law. So
Oh,
Yeah,
she
I
has
think
high
it-
expectations for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Agreed.
sort of intimidates Neville a bit.
Yeah,
makes
I think it's
sense.
a fear in a kind of a McGonagall kind of way, not a Snape
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind Gran so much because I think she has such pride in her son, or in Frank and Alice, but she's also has a lot of fear that Neville won't like measure up, so she's putting a lot of expectations on him, and she's also probably fearful that he's gonna like encounter some dark forces and he's not gonna have to. Yeah, the same thing's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a teacher at Hogwarts, I'd write a letter to Gran and be like, "Hey,
Just
he's a
relax.
good kid.
Just
Chill.
relax a bit. Yeah.
Get him his own wand. Have him
Yeah.
like keep his father's wand for memorial's sake, but get him his own wand. He'll be fine."
Yeah. That's another
He's
fascinating
chill.
thing I want to talk about. The idea of his wand. Neville would have definitely been. He is better with his own wand. But why didn't his dad's wand work for him well? Is there something? I'm curious. Ron's first wand probably doesn't work for him so well. With the wand lore, is it always that you have to win it? They have that conversation at King's Cross, I think, or with the wand maker.
The wand chooses the wizard.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's also something to do with confidence. Like Neville didn't probably do everything with confidence enough so the wand didn't work very well.
Yeah, it's always in the back of his mind, like, this is my dad's wand.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mine.
Yeah, and I think
And
my
not
thought on
just
this
that, he also thinks that he's bad at magic. So that also sort of translates to his wand work and spell work.
That's true. And Frank hasn't actually passed away, has he? And so, I mean,
No.
perhaps it's just that the wand is actually lingering on to his, I don't know, soul or something. And maybe if he did pass on, maybe it actually would have worked better for Neville.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one.
Point.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. Anybody else, any other points in this chapter before we go on to chapter 8?
Favorite lines.
Yeah. Oh yeah, favorite line.
Before that, I was wondering whether you guys had any ideas about how Slytherin had won the House Cup 6 years in a row. That seems kind of strange. I think my hypothesis is either one, Snape is extremely biased, or two, they were just elite at Quidditch for 6 years.
Both.
It's
I would
both.
say both.
Yeah, I'd definitely both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have to remember that obviously Slytherins are looking to be the best that they can be in terms of like magical success. So they probably are quite good at
very ambitious.
Very good in class. Obviously
Yeah.
the Ravenclaws as well, but then there is the bias and the fact that a lot of Slytherins come from a long line of wizards. So they've probably got connections to the teacher, the professors as well. So I feel like a lot of the Slytherins will already be familiar with a lot of the professors and the work and everything like that.
Plus, they'll already be better at magic because they can practice over the summers because of how the tracking works, and like they have so many advantages.
Yeah, maybe they already had like a T-ball Quidditch league or something.
Yeah.
Why do you think McGambler was so excited to see Harry catch that Remember All? She's like, I'll finally win a bet against Snape.
About time.
So true.
Honestly, I even as a Hufflepuff, like I love. Maybe this is weird. Like I am a competitive person sometimes, but like I don't have a ton of competitiveness anymore. But I kind of love that Hufflepuff aren't last, because I'd be like okay with that. I'd be like, oh yeah, we go out for the House Cup every year, but like we are just the house that's making fun of all the other houses for really trying hard, and we're just like hanging out with each other, having a good time. I'm like, that's what Hogwarts is all about.
Hanging out, playing with plants.
John, you gotta watch Puffs.
Yeah,
you have to watch it. Yes,
I know.
You're gonna love it.
So I'm definitely gonna watch it live.
They talk about that.
Oh yeah, good.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
So,
all right, what is your guys' favorite lines in this chapter?
When Dumbledore goes.
Oh yeah, go
ahead.
Oh no, you go for it.
Okay, I was saying when Dumbledore says "nitwit, blubber, oddment, trick." I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
I looked it up too. Looked up because I was curious too, and it's supposed to be the opposite of every house.
Oh no way!
Oh wow!
Yep.
So I mean, I can't remember which one's which, but blubber is always going to be I think the Ravenclaw, I think, is it. So.
Oh, I would think Nitwit would be the opposite.
Yeah,
of
Nitwit would be the
Yeah.
opposite.
Nitwit, yeah, sorry, Nitwit. I knew what I was talking about. Yeah, no, yeah. So each one's got a different. Let me see. I think
Interesting.
I can
Oddment for Slytherin. I see that.
Ravenclaw, Nitwit, Slytherin, Oddment, Gryffindor's Blubber. Yeah, that's what it was. Hufflepuff, Tweet.
Wow.
So
Love
instead
it.
of each one.
Nice. I didn't know that.
That's cool.
Interesting, yeah. I liked our music, a magic beyond all we do here. Beyond
Yeah.
That's
all
awesome.
we do here.
Yeah.
Because that's so true, because like music can make you
Mhm.
feel a
Yeah.
bazillion things. But also it kind of works towards the end of the book, because obviously music does become somewhat important at the
Yeah.
end of this book.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really like that line.
Yeah, that's awesome. I liked when McGonagall said, "Your house will be something like your family," which I think is so interesting because, especially for Harry to hear that as someone who's never really had an actual family, just to say that yes, I'm gonna finally have like a group of people that can be like my family.
Yeah.
I love Percy's line when Harry asks if Dumbledore is mad. I love Percy's response so much. You know, when he's like, "Oh, no, he's a genius," like almost offended, and then he's like, "But yes, he is also a bit mad."
Potatoes, Harry?
Potatoes, Harry.
Yes, and then potatoes. Yeah.
The food sounded so good. I must say.
I know. That is one thing I love about the movies. All the food piled on the tables. I'm like, they could eat for years.
Yeah.
I like the I like the line right before music, because that's the line where everybody finished the song at different times. At last, only the Weasley twins were left singing along to a very slow funeral march. Dumbledore conducted their last few lines with his wand. When they had finished, he was the one who clapped the loudest. I love that.
Okay, so John, favorite line, not favorite passage.
That is a line. Come on. I'm just gonna read the whole chapter for you guys right now.
Let's do it.
That's mine too. I love the Weasleys when they sing it slow.
Yeah.
It's just I picture it in my mind. So.
Also to a funeral march, so it's like very sort
Yeah.
of dragging and slow.
I love that.
Yeah, and it just shows that Dumbledore loves fun.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Agreed.
I actually kind of had a question about that, which is that I feel like there's like a lot of goofiness from Dumbledore. I feel like more than usual in this amount of pages. And I'm like trying to figure out, is that just my how I'm interpreting it, or is it intentional either by the character or by the author? Is she like trying to really make it clear that Dumbledore has a great sense of humor and is trying to get across his character to us?
Yeah.
Is it just my perception? I don't know.
No, I think you're right on that one, because especially even like when the Goblet of Fire, when Rita Skeeter is asking him questions and stuff, the way he handles her, and constantly his jokes that he has all over the entire series. I think it's just her telling us at the beginning, like, hey, he's not an all serious guy. You know, he's really goofy and loving and fun and a child. So
he's witty and sarcastic and fantastical.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting too, because like, even when we're talking about the legitimacy thing, I'm like, is he, overcompensating now? Is he invading into the student's mind and then trying to be super goofy so that they don't like suspect him of invading the student's mind?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
I kind of don't think that Dumbledore needs to do that. I think he's really, really perceptive.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do that, but I don't think he wouldn't do that. It's
Maybe.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Potions monster.
Any other last lines before we move on to the next one? All right.
I did just have a random afterthought, because when Celia was asking how to pronounce Seamus, random fact, Seamus is Irish for James. So
No way.
he's technically
Yeah.
called James.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Wait, that's so
not
funny.
really
Yeah,
relevant to the chapter, but it just popped into my mind there.
it's actually relevant to me. I had my Irish book club for Harry Potter this morning, and there's a person in our book club who's called Jim, and then the teacher always calls him Seamus. And I'm like, what? That's so weird. Now I get it. Wow.
I love that. That's
Fantastic.
awesome. Good fact to end.